name is Emma Cranford.
And I'm Madison Sneed.
And this is Albert Bandura's Reciprocal Causation.
Albert Bandura was a Canadian-American psychologist with popular theories such as social learning theory and reciprocal causation. He was born December 4th, 1925 in Canada. He attended the University of British Columbia, where he eventually earned his PhD in psychology. He first earned his master's degree in 1951 and then his PhD in clinical psychology in 1952. He began working at Stanford University in 1953, where he developed many theories. He is most famous for one of his experiments with the Bobo dolls.
In another one of his famous theories, Bandura studied the cause and effect of a teacher or student in a learning environment and called it reciprocal causation. So, what is reciprocal causation? It's also known as reciprocal determinism, and it's when a person's behavior both influences and is influenced by personal factors in the social environment. So as we can see in the little picture, behavior can influence environment, which can influence person and cognitive factors, which can influence behavior, and vice versa the other way around. In a classroom setting, this can be the student influencing the teacher, who influences the tone of the classroom, which influences the student's behavior. It's a continuous cycle, a give and take, cause and effect, which Bandura used to prove that a student's behavior is not strictly caused by their outside environments, but is also caused by internal factors within their behavior. So a more specific example would be if a student is misbehaving in class. They're on their phone, they're talking to their friends, not paying attention, whatever it is they're doing, and the teacher notices and decides to talk to the student. And the teacher encourages them to behave better, to participate in studies, gives them another assignment that they can do to make up for something they didn't do, and the student takes it and tries to make an effort to involve themselves more within the class, to participate more, to get their work done in time, whatever it is. After doing so, the student feels like they're not capable of school-related subjects. They don't feel like they can achieve much. They aren't accelerating as much as their peers, and so they give up. As a result, the student is going to fall back into old habits and misbehave again because they don't feel like they are capable of doing the actual classwork. Now, the idea is that when the students start misbehaving again, the teacher is going to take notice and want to encourage them or have them participate more in their studies, which is just starting the cycle all over. In Bandura's theory, there are three main components: environmental, internal, and behavior. Environmental is when an outside factor is acting as a stimuli. So, for example, when the teacher is encouraging or disapproving a student's behavior. In our last example, it's the teacher encouraging the student to behave better and to participate in their studies more. The internal component is when emotions or thoughts influence behavior. So this is, for example, within a student. In our last example, it's the student not feeling capable enough to perform or excel in their academics. This is also known as the cognitive or the personal factors. And lastly, the behavior component is an outward result of influences and stimuli. So, for example, this is the student misbehaving in a classroom.
Is reciprocal causation relevant? Yes, reciprocal causation is a cause and effect cycle. Albert's theory of reciprocal causation claims that an individual's behavior influences and is influenced by both the social world and personal characteristics. How a teacher acts influences how the students act, and how the students act influences how the teacher acts. Classrooms are based on your actions. As a teacher, you need to keep this in mind.
The PPR standards of Texas are expectations that teachers must meet within a classroom, but how is Bandura's theory relevant to these standards?
Competency 5, Standard C, which states the teacher must analyze ways in which teacher-student interactions and interactions among students impact classroom climate and student learning and development. This standard is still focused on the teacher and student relationship and how they go hand in hand. Bandura's theory relies on the idea that the way a teacher acts affects the student's behavior and likewise. The next standard chosen is Competency 4, Standard L. This relates to education because a teacher must analyze ways in which various teacher roles and student roles impact student learning. This means that how you act as a teacher affects how the children act as students. Competency 1, Standard O, states the teacher should understand ways in which student involvement in risky behaviors, such as drug and alcohol use or gang involvement, impacts development and learning. As a teacher, you can encourage students to be aware of who they associate with since actions are learned. If you're around people who break rules, then you will be more likely to break them as well, according to Bandura's theory. The last PPR standard for Texas chosen was Competency 1, Standard A, which states that the beginning teacher knows the typical stages of cognitive, social, physical, and emotional developments of students in early childhood through grade 12. Bandura's theory supports this because the teacher should understand how her actions can shape the actions and development of a child.
So how is Bandura's theory an influence in education? It's all a cause and effect. The students influence their teacher, who influence their students. This also includes other outside effects, such as the students' peers, or environmental and cultural effects. But overall, it is known that the way a student behaves is not strictly caused by their own personal thoughts and intelligences, but is also influenced by outside factors. This causes a set tone in education and encourages teachers to act more appropriately so that their students will respond positively in return. How a teacher acts influences how a student acts, which can set the tone for an entire classroom, whether it be good or bad. The standards from the PPR Texas all show different ways that a teacher can pay attention or be involved in how a student is learning or what their environmental factors look like. Because of one thing is the effect of something else and vice versa. And in the end, it all just comes down to what your performance is in the classroom. The effect that you have on your students is the effect that they have on your performance, which can decide whether or not teaching becomes a job or a joy.